Hello, ladies. How are you all doing today? I hope it's wonderful. Today was my first anniversary, but we did all the anniversary stuff over the weekend. So now we're back home from Portland and just kind of settling into life again and getting ready to just go back to regular life. But it was wonderful. I had a wonderful first anniversary and enjoyed myself to the fullest with my husband. We had such a good time. And of course, came back from Portland knowing that yes, we need to move to Portland. Um, but on to more important things. Last week I just did like two vlogs, and then I was running and doing and going, getting this and doing that, and all this stuff, kind of getting ready for my anniversary weekend, which I must say was fabulous. I got a wonderful gift from my husband and a beautiful start to a Pandora charm bracelet. I'm so happy. It's exactly what I wanted, and we had a wonderful dinner and just enjoyed ourselves so much. I'm, just happy as two clams. But I wanted to get back into my series on Know Your Emotional Abuser. And you all know I've been doing this series for a couple of weeks now, giving you information and stuff about emotional abuse, because I just want women to know. I just want women to know. It's easy to get caught up maybe in an emotionally abusive relationship and not know that you're in one for a while, and then see yourself invested in thinking you have to stay and try to fix things and all that sort of stuff, which is not going to work. So today we're going to talk about two new things about emotional abuse, two new types. And we're coming really close to the end here of our series. I think we've got, yeah, just one more. And then that'll be it. And then I'll have a last kind of wrap up vlog because I've got a couple things that I want to say to women about emotional abuse and about those sorts of relationships. But today we're going to talk about unpredictable responses and constant chaos creating crisis. And two of those really go hand in hand, but there are two different types of emotional abuse, and we're going to talk about them today in a little more detail. Unpredictable responses. And of course, as I said, every week this is coming from The Emotionally Abusive Relationship by Beverly Engel. She has a couple of really great books about emotional abuse. And if you've been in or thought you were in an emotionally abusive relationship, or you're not really sure, or you're trying to put some of those pieces back together of your life, these are some really great books she has about that. And I think it would behoove you to get them and read them. So, unpredictable responses. This type of emotional abuse includes drastic mood swings, sudden emotional outbursts for no apparent reason, and inconsistent responses, such as reacting very differently at various times to the same behavior, saying one thing one day and the opposite the next, or frequently changing one's mind, liking something one day but hating it the next. The reason this behavior is damaging is that it causes others, especially the partner, to feel consistently on edge. You are always waiting for the other shoe to drop, and you never feel you know what's expected of you. Living with someone who is like this is extremely demanding and anxiety provoking. You feel constantly frightened, unsettled, and off balance, and that you must remain hyper vigilant. I'll talk about what hyper vigilant is. Waiting for your partner's next outburst or change of mood. This kind of behavior is common with alcohol and drug abusers, who can exhibit one personality when sober and a totally different one when intoxicated or high. It can also be an indication of mental illness, such as bipolar disorder or certain personality disorders, such as a borderline personality disorder, which causes a person to have drastic shifts in mood, to have an emotional outburst, sudden anger, overwhelming fear, or anxiety attacks, or to react unpredictably. Finally, it can be characteristic of those who suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder and dissociative disorders, and things like that. A borderline personality disorder is someone who's like a sociopath, and a dissociative disorder is someone who maybe um, uh, has a split personality or schizophrenic or something like that. Those are people who usually have a dissociative disorder, someone who has multiple personalities or something like that. And unpredictable responses, you don't have to be an alcoholic or a drug addict or someone with mental illness to have that. You can just have a person who is, just quote unquote, just kind of regular, having those. And sometimes people do that to really just kind of keep everybody on edge. Sometimes people do those things purposely, which I would think is some kind of mental disorder. I don't know what kind, but that person would certainly need some help. But it really does keep you kind of off balance, really freaked out. You don't really know what to do, and it may cause you, as a person who's having this done to you, it may end up causing you panic and anxiety. My ex-husband would do things like that. My whole relationship with him was, I was totally off balance. He was always reacting differently at different times to different things. Something really small would happen one day and he'd be okay, and something small would happen the next day and he would be freaking out like we were going to be living under a bridge in a cardboard box, because maybe we were 2 days late on a bill payment. And it was kind of always this thing where I never knew what to expect or what was going on. So it kept me kind of freaked out because I'm waiting for him to really, you're waiting for the other shoe to drop. I'm waiting for him to see what he's going to do or what he's going to say, or today is he going to be upset about this, or is today what's going to kind of get him to go off and stuff. And I'm sure if you may know some people like this, and if you're in this kind of relationship, you may recognize some of this. It's to keep you really off balance and kind of freaked out because you never really know how to react to the person. And hypervigilant means that you're always on guard. You're always up, kind of ready to see what they're going to do because you have to stay on guard with them all the time. So it can cause you a lot of anxiety and panic, actually. And what ended up happening to me is I developed panic and anxiety disorder at the end of the relationship because I was so freaked out by the things that he was doing and the things that he was kind of keeping to make our lives just kind of, really kind of unpredictable and everything like that. So it ended up distressing me and causing me to have, kind of my own set of issues at the end with panic and anxiety disorder. I would suggest that if you're with someone who has unpredictable responses, now if you're with a drug or a drug addict or alcoholic or someone with a mental disability, they need to get some help, and that help is not going to come from you. You're not a therapist. You're not a person that can get people off of drugs and alcohol. You're not doing anything. You're not helping them by having them codepend on you and by having them act out whatever it is with you all the time. You're not helping. And so you really need to think about whether or not you should leave that situation or see if they can get some help or whatever. That's kind of up to you. Like I say, I can't really tell people what to do. We all have to figure out what to do for ourselves. But I'm telling you, if you don't do anything, it's going to end up affecting you as much as whatever it is that's affecting them is affecting them. It's going to end up affecting you also, and it's going to end up kind of having you in a place of being freaked out and maybe causing you depression or panic and anxiety disorder, having to deal with this person and stuff. It's emotional abuse because the person knows they have a problem, but they are not really doing anything, and they're just using you as kind of something to, to kind of get them over, kind of something, kind of a bomb to get them over to, to the other side where, then they're, okay one day, and then one day they're not okay and all that stuff. And then you're trying to freak out and you're trying to, figure out what to do and how you're going to make it better. And the thing is, you can't make it better because in unpredictable responses, even if you change something, the next day they may do something else. And the next day what you changed they may end up hating too, or having a different response too. So there's really nothing you can do because That's why it's called unpredictable responses. You'll never be able to know how they're going to respond from one day or from one situation to the next. The next is constant chaos and creating crisis. And unlike unpredictable responses, which is usually something with alcohol and drug addicts and people with mental disabilities, constant chaos and creating crisis really is the person that's just, hey, they just like drama. They really do. They just like the dramatic effect of all the drama and the fighting. So although similar to unpredictable responses, in that this type of abuse will cause you to feel constantly unsettled and off balance, it is specifically characterized by continual upheavals and discord. If your partner deliberately starts arguments with you or others, or seems to be in constant conflict with others, he or she may be addicted to drama. Creating chaos provides excitement for some people, especially those who are uneasy with silence, those who distance themselves from their own problems by focusing outward, those who feel empty inside and need to fill themselves up with an activity, and those who are raised in an environment in which harmony and peace were unknown quantities. So, constant chaos is also a characteristic of can be a characteristic of borderline personality disorder also. But those two are really more, as I said, very obvious. There are people that you know that I call them antagonistic people. That's what I call them. There are people who are antagonists who are always kind of starting up. You see them and you feel like, man, you're always starting drama. You're always starting up some mess. You always got something going on. And they're constantly talking about how they don't like drama or how they don't like all this, but they're constantly in the middle of it. They're constantly kind of starting it up. They're constantly kind of making more trouble, in their relationship. Oh, I can't stand all this. I just wish we had peace in our relationship. But really, they don't do anything to make anything peaceful. So you get this person who's constantly with all this stuff going on, and there's always drama, and the littlest thing that happens, they're starting this huge big argument and all this stuff. And you have to know there are people who are not people who are what I would call introspective. So people who aren't introspective usually always look outward, looking for others other people that are somehow causing them problems. They're never really responsible for themselves. It's always somebody else's responsibility, what they're feeling or what they're doing. And instead of them being able to solve that issue, it's always somebody else. So usually in that case it's their partner, wife, husband, whatever, that is always constantly doing something to them or whatever, and they never really take responsibility for themselves. So there's always kind of this constant chaos, constant drama, constant creating of crisis. They're always in a crisis. And I know you may know, and I tell this because you know or see some people that you know that are always, I know some people like this that are always in drama. They're always having a crisis. Their life is never peaceful. It's never at kind of at a settled point. It's never even. It's always something going on all the time and stuff. And you wonder, well, why don't you make different choices or why don't you do something different? But they never do. They seem to thrive on it, even though they're saying that they don't like it. They seem to thrive on all of the drama and all of the crisis and all. They're just, and it's a weird sort of addiction. And because really that's what they are. They're addicted to that. It's a weird sort of addiction, and that they need some help with. But you, as the other person, will be dragged into that, and you will have to be a part of it. You'll have to hear about it all the time. You'll have to be a part of the arguments. You'll have to be a part of the fights. You'll have to be a part of the antagonistic sort of thing that goes back and forth. And there are relationships where both people are like that. It's not just one. Both people can be like that and stuff. And so those are people, and you can emotionally abuse one another. It doesn't just have to be one person emotionally abusing. People can emotionally abuse one another in a relationship and stuff. And so those sorts of relationships are not good for your psyche, not good for your mental health. They will definitely cause you, both of these will cause you much anxiety and panic and pain because you can't handle the unpredictability, the constant arguing, the constant fighting. Your human beings are not meant to be in that. We can certainly rise to the occasion when things happen and we need to, but constantly our bodies aren't meant to deal with that sort of things. Our bodies are not, and that's why people end up going to drinking and taking drugs and being sex addicts and shopaholics and whatever. People end up having mental breakdowns because our bodies and minds aren't meant to handle that kind of chaos all the time, constantly. We're not, and so we need something to kind of ease it. So there's lots of things that happen. We have mental breakdowns, we become addicts for all kinds of stuff, and we do all kinds of other emotional drugs, emotional abuse, and controlling people, and being passive aggressive, and being just really aggressive, being hypercritical, or all the other stuff that we use to kind of ease ourselves of this kind of weird, chaotic world that we've got ourselves whirling in and our heads kind of going. We're not meant to live like this. We're not meant to live in this sort of chaos. So your body will shut down on you as the partner. The person who's doing this to you, is emotionally abusing you. They got a way to to calm themselves and to give themselves a balm and a salve. It's emotionally abusing you. You don't have a way to release all of what you got, so yours will come out in another way, in another fashion. Do you find yourself drinking more? Do you find yourself maybe addicted to sex more? Do you find yourself shopping more? Do you find yourself eating more or things like that and stuff? It'll come out. It will show itself in another way. It shows itself in another way. And so you have to think about your other behaviors that may be kind of taking up where you can't handle the emotional abuse that's going on with you with this person. So you need to think about that, especially in these two kind of chaotic areas, of emotional abuse. These two things that are so chaotic and keep you so off balance, and you don't even know what to do. But you're going to figure out some ways to kind of pull it back together. But it won't be a healthy way until you get out of that relationship and get yourself some help. So those are the two for this week. And next week will be our last two. We will be talking about character assassination and sexual harassment. I bet you didn't know you could be sexually harassed in a relationship. Yeah, you can. So we'll be talking about those next week. And so I'll see you guys then. Thanks. Bye.